as well as perks that you have to see to believe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 4K filming. Bought a new camera. We're gonna piss right past that.
Shit.
Do not mention my eczema. So The Simpsons. You guys know The Simpsons, right? Unless you know The Simpsons, right? The Simpsons is the longest running show in American television history, a comedy institution and an animated Nostradamus. It gave us iconic characters such as Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson, Lisa Simpson, and the whole gang in the background.
Dude, I played this one game. Let me show y'all. Let me see. I don't know if y'all know this game, but let me try to find it. What the fuck is this? This shit came out in 2007? Let me see. It was this one, I believe. This one. Let me show you. This is the one that I saw right here. I don't know if you played it, but it was pretty good. I liked it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just thought about it right now. Seeing if anybody else played it. The Simpsons.
Go to extratalk.com for exclusive comedy content that YouTube won't let me post, as well. Television history, a comedy institution, and an animated Nostradamus. It gave us iconic characters such as Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson, Lisa Simpson, and the whole gang in the background. And the Simpsons have been around for so long that the things they were making fun of are the things that they're now known for. Like Krusty the Clown was making fun of like Bozo the Clown, but people don't remember Bozo the Clown, so now Krusty the Clown is just its own thing. It's very confusing. Weird thing that can happen if a show runs for more than 20 years. But the Simpsons have done much more than, push the envelope and have a great comedy history. They've done a couple weird things.
Oh shit, my bad. Sorry, getting hectic around here.
In their past, they've predicted a lot of things that have happened in the world. They predicted so much that you'd assume that the entire writing staff was, just a bunch of physicists doing some time travel shit. But no, it's just staffed by a bunch of Harvard graduates, for some reason. And a lot of them. There's a lot of Harvard graduates that came out of that writing room. Since its debut in 1989, The Simpsons has been a revolving door of Ivy League chuckleheads, counting over 30 Harvard alumni writers. So I guess if you hire the brightest minds in the world to write for your TV show, two things happen. Really well-written jokes about alcoholic fathers and peeks into the future for some fucking reason. From science to sports, politics, and pop culture, this cartoon is practically clairvoyant. So get ready to eat your shorts, because we're gonna look on the psychic side of The Simpsons. Eat Your Shorts has, it's like bringing up Rick and Morty nowadays. Like, Eat Your Shorts has been said so many times that it's cringe. And that's insane because it's such a pop.
I have never fucking heard that anymore.
So to begin, when you think of science, the town of Springfield is probably not your first thought. Yes, they have that weird little scientist character, and yes, Homer works at a nuclear power plant, but both of those things are the signs of the time, because nuclear energy was a big deal in the 90s, and once again, the show is very old. However, the Simpsons have their grubby little yellow fingerprints all over every innovation that's happened in the last 30 years. In 1964, scientists proposed a theory that explained how particles gained mass. If true, this so-called God particle would help us really understand what the Big Bang was. And I'm talking about the theory, not that dog TV show, that laugh track. It shocks me every time I watch it. People laugh so hard in that audience over the most mundane things. I don't know how you can legally get away with that. It would take nearly 50 years, but in 2012, we discovered the God particle using the Large Hadron Collider. But those scientists could have saved themselves about 14 years of trial and error, because in 1998, Homer Simpson discovered it. Actually, that happened. In the episode, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, Homer tries to become a renowned inventor like Thomas Edison. It's one of my favorite episodes ever, and that's the episode where we get the joke where Homer makes a makeup shotgun, and then he shoots it on the wall, and he says he accidentally set it to whore. Just a very good joke, well written. And he also makes other things, like hamburger earmuffs and a chair that's also a toilet. I'm sorry to be explaining Simpsons jokes, but kids these days don't really watch The Simpsons, and it's kind of sad. You guys should watch The Simpsons. It's on.
Yeah, I really didn't start watching The Simpsons until like I was a little bit older, because my parents didn't want me to watch it, so I wouldn't really watch it. But I watch it now sometimes here and there, and it's a pretty good show. I don't know why they. I mean, I get why they wouldn't let me watch it, but it's a good show. I like it.
On Disney, I think, but in one random fateful scene, Homer is just working out some on a chalkboard, and if you take the time, like you screenshot that equation and you try and solve it, you get incredibly close to the actual nanomass of the God particle, which is, what the Why? Of course, as smart as the Simpsons writers are, they can't take all the credit for this one. They actually contracted a professor at MIT to help come up with the formula Homer would scrawl on the chalkboard. So even though this didn't come out of the writers of The Simpsons, the fact that Homer got this close to figuring this out is beyond me. Like, why would you hire an MIT writer to make a joke that no one would understand? And why didn't that guy just solve the... It's fucking crazy. Let's move on to another episode called Civilian Space Travel.
Oh, wait. Why didn't the scientist or the professor just do it? Like, he could have just done it. And we would have probably been advanced by now. We have flying cars and all this, but I don't know.
Which happened in Season 5, Episode 15. Long before billionaire Elon Musk assumed his role as Dick Cheney-esque puppet master of Donald Trump, his private rocket company, SpaceX, started...
Have you guys seen the SpaceX? Did you see the SpaceX? I saw it. That shit was pretty cool. All the time. Log back in.
Started sending civilians to the final frontier. In 2021, the first all-civilian crew was launched into orbit, and if you're some Richie Rich who can pay their way to the moon, more power to you. But personally, I do not want to ride a rocket...
Did they have to go into training? I mean, I don't know. It feels like they should go to training. If they didn't, then that's kind of fucking crazy. But I feel like they should have gone to fucking training or something like that.
Ship into space without at least one person knowing what the fuck is going on. I don't want fucking Jimbo from Connecticut to be sitting next to me. I want an astronaut. But when it comes to woefully underqualified dudes going into space, Homer Simpson did it first. In the 1994 episode, as I said earlier, Deep Space Homer, NASA selects Homer to take a flight on the space shuttle to help the agency gain publicity. Ironically, The Simpsons creator Mac Groening didn't want to write this episode because he thought it was too unrealistic, which... not really anymore, buddy, and had the writers take some of the jokes down a notch to focus on the dynamic between Homer and his family. But it became a classic episode, thanks in part to guest appearance from Buzz Aldrin.
I've never seen this episode.
And the episode was so popular that real-life astronaut Edward Liu requested a copy for it in the International Space Station. So The Simpsons predicted regular people going to space, which it was going to happen eventually, but they really nailed the vibe of it. And then in 1995, there was another episode. This is going to, I mean, it's just all episodes. This is what we sat down for, right? BuzzFeed-esque article. In the 1995 episode, Lisa's wedding, Lisa visits a Renaissance fair where she is asked a fortune teller about her true love. The clairvoyant shows Lisa her wedding, which takes place in 2010, 15 years into the future. Honestly, this isn't that far-fetched. You go to a Ren fair and someone will give you some bullshit about your future. I made a whole video about it. But a Simpsons episode that takes place a little bit in the nearby future is a perfect incubator for predictions. And this episode might have the best string of predictions in any 30-minute block of regular television ever. They had teleconference technology like Skype or FaceTime. That was when I was a kid, I was watching that. I was like, yeah, for sure. That was not a thing. They just made that a bold prediction, and it happened so fast. And they had smartwatches. They literally had fucking Siri on their thing. And I know
I've heard about this one.
Jetsons probably had that too, but they nailed the feel of it. They even have a few visual gags that are pretty much predictions themselves. Like how the night sky is intentionally made a reddish color to represent the continued environmental damage and pollution, and a 2010 Rolling Stone tour poster on Lisa's wall that pokes fun at the suggestion that the then 30-year-old band would never stop touring, which as of 2025 is still very accurate. All right, let's move away from the science, because they did a lot of science shit, but there's way more than... all these pages, predictions. So Pete Rose holds the record for number of hits in the league of Major League Baseball. But because of a gambling scandal, he's not in the Hall of Fame. But you know who is? Fucking Homer Simpson. It was purely ceremonial, but in 2017, Homer was inducted into the Major League Hall of Fame because of the episode Homer at Bat. And you might think that's the end-all be-all, but that's not even close to the largest contribution that the Simpsons have done to the history of sports. The Simpsons have a pretty great track record of predicting the biggest game in all of sports, the Super Bowl. And I know you guys are going to say the World Cup. I'm an American. I don't give a shit about that. It's the Super Bowl. In fact, in the early 90s, they went on a legendary streak. It started in the 1992 episode Lisa the Greek, when Homer realizes Lisa is a natural at placing bets. Under the guise of daddy-daughter dates, Homer would ask Lisa of, like, gambling tips every Sunday and would get rich off that. Eventually, Lisa catches on to the whole thing, but we're not here to talk about plot. I'm here to talk about the fact that she predicted that the Washington Redskins would win Super Bowl 26. And I know they're not called the Washington Redskins anymore, but it was back then. The episode aired on Fox a few days before the actual game, and Lisa's pick was right. And then Fox re-aired the same episode the next year, Super Bowl 27, and they did a different voice line where Lisa repicks it, and Lisa, once again, accurately predicted that the Dallas Cowboys would win. It's a shirt, and Lisa mentions the football team, put your life savings on it. The following year, Fox again re-aired the episode before the Super Bowl, but they didn't have to lift a finger this time because the Super Bowl 28 was just a rematch of Super Bowl 27. And once again, the Dallas Cowboys won.
What?
It's like, that's the whole thing. That was the fact that she could pick bets, and she's doing it in real life. For 3 straight years, the smart money was to put it on Lisa Simpson. Not any, just put on whatever the she says. And 20 years after that, the Simpsons would predict another Super Bowl. But only this time, it was the halftime entertainment. 5 years before it happened in real life, Lady Gaga performed at the Super Bowl in The Simpsons. And yeah, she was a big star at the time, and you could assume that at one point she would get the Super Bowl role, but it was weird because the outfit she was wearing in the episode was shockingly similar to the one she actually wore at the Super Bowl.
No, that's actually really crazy.
And suspended above the crowd like they said she would be in the episode. And now this could all be a sly nod to the fact that like she was actually trying to recreate what she did in The Simpsons, but that seems like a whole lot, but could be. Regardless, she made a prediction come true. And remember when I was just talking shit about the World Cup? Well, The Simpsons also does some shit about the World Cup. In 2014, The Simpsons tackled the other football, soccer, in the episode You Don't Have to Live Like a Referee. This was the first episode to take place in Brazil since the country nearly sued Fox for the 2002 episode Blame It on Lisa. In that episode, it wasn't a good depiction. You know, The Simpsons doesn't have a clear track record of not being racist. They showed Rio de Janeiro as like a place filled with like gangs and violence and street rats. Wasn't good, but Brazil eventually backed off from the lawsuit after The Simpsons apologized. Kind of. James L. Brooks, one of the creators
Isn't
of the
it
show,
bad
said,
though,
"We
Brazil?
apologize to the lovely city of Rio de Janeiro, and if that doesn't settle the issue, Homer Simpson offers to take on the president of Brazil on Fox's Celebrity Boxing."
Oh, what the
kinda
fuck?
Like you, but it was you could see it as a genuine apology. 12 years later, the Simpsons family visited South America again after Homer is invited to referee at the World Cup after a scandal caused a zebra shortage. Apparently, zebras are what cool sports guys call refs. I don't know anything about that, but it's in the script. So here comes the prediction. Not only did The Simpsons predict that Germany would win the World Cup that year, but in 2015, the scandal storyline also came true. 14 officials from FIFA, the governing body of soccer, were indicted by the U.S. Department of Justice. They were accused of conspiracy and corruption, including $150 million in bribes and kickbacks for bids to host the World Cup. So,
What
like
the
I said
fuck?
again, it was, it wasn't a clear prediction. And yes, it was kind of like hanging fruit because everyone knew FIFA was corrupt at the time, but they nailed that prediction and they nailed Germany. So two of those at once makes it seem like they actually knew what the future was going to be like. And they also predicted some shit about curling. You guys know about curling?
Do y'all actually think that the Simpsons actually know some stuff? Like, I honestly think they know what's going on. Or, fuck, that's hard to say. I don't know. I think they do. Because I would like to believe it, but I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that the U.S. has never really been known as a dominant force in the sport of curling. Curling feels like the domain of a country that's only really good at hockey. You know what I'm saying? They're around ice a lot. If you grow up and your leg's frozen over and you can't afford a stick, well, just slide that puck and see how close you can get it to other pucks. You know what I'm saying? This is why the 2010 episode Boy Meets Curl was funny, even in its very conception. In the history of the U.S. Olympics, America has only been able to win bronze once in 2006. We are not good at curling. So when Marge and Homer win Olympic gold in curling by beating Sweden, it almost feels like absurdist humor. So us winning that medal is silly on paper. We would never do that. But then we did do that. In 2018, the U.S. Olympic team for curling won the gold, and who did they beat? Sweden. What the f*** is going on? Okay, so the Simpsons know sports and the Simpsons know science. They know the future for both of those things. So what else do they know? Well, one thing the Simpsons could have never predicted was their very own popularity. So let's go a little meta right now. Ironically, the show became ingrained in the same American culture it regularly poked fun of. In fact, in 1998, Time magazine named Bart Simpson one of the most influential people of the 20th century. You can even argue that things took such a weird turn at the end of the century that it took a cartoon like The Simpsons to help us honestly examine ourselves. But despite all of that, or maybe in light of it, they were nailing shit left and right when it came to pop culture. For example, Siegfried and Roy. Siegfried and Roy is going to be one of the harder things to explain to future generations, in my opinion. These two German-American magicians met on a cruise ship. What a start. Then they decided to develop a stage show that relied on white lions and white tigers, and eventually became a marquee act at the Mirage in Las Vegas. And if you're gonna go to Vegas, you want to see some lions on stage, goddammit. And that's because of them. That's their whole shtick. They are the lion magicians. They were so wildly popular that Michael Jackson wrote and recorded the theme song for their show. Their obsession with big cats transcended the stage. They let lions and tigers roam around their Vegas estate like they were normal house cats. And it might seem weird now, but even at the time, it was still pretty fucking weird that they were doing that. And if something was weird enough, that means the Simpsons would parody it. Is that, am I saying that right? They made fun of it in 1993. In the episode Springfield, and the S is a dollar sign, Mr. Burns hires a tiger-handling duo to perform at his new casino. And as you would expect, it would end in a tiger attack. This is The Simpsons. They're gonna make fun of it. And yes, that's something that you would always expect. But then a decade later, it happened. One of the guys got fucking mauled by a tiger on stage. He barely escaped with his life and became partially paralyzed. And you have to give credit to The Simpsons for calling their shot that early in the game. But I mean, come on. That was gonna happen. You're fooling around with tigers on stage.
That's
one of
true.
them can kill you. And by the way, I don't feel bad for Siegfried or Roy. They're a great gay icon story, but they bred and sold big cats and subjected them to lives of captivity. So f*** 'em. That's not conservation, that's animal abuse. And I don't want to get into this right now, but I love big cats, and you're being mean to them. Moving down the line, let's talk about Michelangelo's statue of David, an icon of the artistic world. When you think of art, you think of this.
The fuck is that? Foreskin?
Likes this statue, but art is always subjective, and that's when things get
Oh,
dicey.
it's a
In
rag.
2016, a Russian woman complained about a replica of David in St. Petersburg, claiming it warped children's minds because of the penis. Because they saw a penis. And then in 2023, a principal at a Christian charter school was forced to resign after parents complained that David was pornographic. But this controversy, if you could imagine, was predicted by The Simpsons in 1990. In the episode Itchy and Scratchy and Marge helps create and organize a group that attempts to censor the incredibly violent Itchy and Scratchy show. The concerned parents of Springfield get their way, and a scrubbed clean version of Itchy and Scratchy is televised. Feeling emboldened, the organization sets their sights on censoring a traveling exhibition of David. And honestly, I don't know if this was a prediction. It was more of making fun of fucking gung-ho parents that want to fucking censor everything, but then it actually happened. Not only in Russia, but in America. Like, this is art, and you want to put a fucking sock over the dick? Just leave it alone. This idea is called the slippery slope fallacy. The idea is that you cannot assume one action will lead to another. However, the Simpsons were right in this case, so you guys, I don't know. And they also predicted all this Fox that happened. They nailed every aspect of it. Watching The Simpsons on Disney Plus is strange, seeing as they completely predicted the Fox-Disney merger in 1998. It was just a quick sight gag that just said that Fox was a division of Disney, but it was still 20 years ahead of the $71 billion merger between Disney and Fox. It might not be a huge jump to conclusions, seeing as Disney was acquiring everything in the 90s. They got huge properties left and right, including Miramax in 1993 and ABC in 1996. And personally, I believe the only reason why someone would have a Disney Plus account is if they're a fucking Star Wars nerd, but then they delete it because they find out all the Star Wars movies suck, or it's because they want to watch The Simpsons, or Bluey. They also have Bluey. But it's just crazy because The Simpsons have historically on Fox and Disney so goddamn hard that I cannot believe that Disney would be even remotely interested in putting it on their platforms. But here we are. I mean, we're in a dystopian future, and the Simpsons knew it was going to happen. Okay, so The Simpsons got science, sports, pop culture. I'm sure they got politics in the pocket. The Simpsons has never been an explicitly political show, although they never really shy away from satirizing politics. But in 1992, the show was swept up as a part of growing culture war waged by conservative politics. President Bush made headlines after he gave a speech to the national religious broadcasters where he said, "We are going to keep on trying to strengthen the American family, to make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons." That was not a great impression of the original President Bush, but I feel like he's a little nerd, and that's how I made him sound. Accordingly, the Simpsons mercilessly made fun of Bush as a shitty next-door neighbor in season 7. But okay, we know the Simpsons kind of turned on the political jets at one point, but just how far did they go? Well, in 2007, The Simpsons finally made a movie, and it is probably one of the best movies ever to come out of the cartoon world.
I remember this movie. This movie is like really, really good. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all should go watch it. It's a really good movie. I'm pretty sure he's gonna go over it right now, but it's a really, really, really good movie.
It is so fucking funny, non-stop jokes, it's fantastic. But in the process, they accidentally made one of their most unsettling predictions. In the film, Lisa worries she's becoming too outspoken about the dome the Environmental Protection Agency places over Springfield. When she expresses her concern for the situation, Marge tries to calm her down by saying, I quote, "It's not like the government is listening to every conversation." We didn't know at the time. And then the next scene cuts to a room where the government is doing exactly that. And at the time when that movie came out, that was a joke. We didn't know what was going on, like I said. 6 years later, Edward Snowden leaked classified documents revealing that the National Security Agency was, in fact, listening to everybody's conversations. Spying on U.S. citizens without probable cause came after 9/11 with the Patriot Act. So Americans weren't paying attention. We were all wearing American flag shirts and being like, you, Middle East. And even though the Patriot Act expired in 2020, it established protocols for spying that remains in the government today. Cool prediction, I guess. You nailed it. One thing that the Simpsons movie didn't get right is that...
I think they're still listening to me. Alright, to my conversation, or to all of us, because I be saying some random shit to my friends, or to my fiance, we be talking and all that, and then I put on YouTube, and a couple of minutes into the video, they show me an ad of what I was just talking about. Like, for example, we were talking about formula for my baby, and it comes up for a video of the exact brand we're talking about, and it showed that, and then I look up, or not look up, I was talking about insurance for my car, and then the next ad plays, and it's fucking the insurance I was talking about. I'm being so deadass. Lock in. They know what we're doing. They know what we're talking about. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Schwarzenegger would become president. But unfortunately, they captured the politician aesthetic so well that they accidentally predicted something else. In the movie, there's a famous line that he says, I was elected to lead, not to read. And like he doesn't want to read a book. It's making fun of dumbass politicians. But 4 years later, a former Godfather's Pizza CEO named Herman Cain ran for Republican presidential nomination. And then he literally said, at a rally in New Hampshire, Cain paraphrased President Schwarzenegger when he said, "We need a leader, not a reader."
Why am I getting into that right now?
What happened to America? He was also an outspoken opponent of wearing masks during COVID, and then he died of COVID. So, to each their own. They really nailed a bunch of about politics, actually. In the 1993 episode Marge in Chains, great pun there, they went for the hat trick of creepy predictions. All in one episode. They got 3 of them. They included a global virus that was eerily similar to COVID called the Osaku flu, and a subsequent killer bee outbreak that mirrored the appearance of murder hornets in the US in 2019. So a bunch of sad However, the most damning prediction came at the...
I am so lucky I did not get fucking stung by one of those. I don't think it was in Texas, but... I don't know, dude. Like, I'm allergic to bees and hornets, but I'm just so glad I didn't get into it, because apparently, like, that shit hurts bad. I'm pretty sure I would have fucking died. I'm not even gonna lie.
Expensive Mayor Quimby, who comically left Springfield at the mere mention of Osaku flu. Obviously, that was a joke. Politicians are there to lead their people. They're not scared little babies that would leave at the first sign of trouble. Correct? That would be unless they're from Texas and named Ted Cruz. Fuck you, Ted Cruz. Texas senator and inbred Alamo troll.
I was just fucking talking about
Mexico,
Texas.
while the Lone Star State was in the middle of a winter storm that left millions without electricity, water, or heat. But you know what you guys did? You elected him again. You did.
But you know who did? HEB! I'm just saying, HEB was there for us. Best groceries. If y'all don't know what HEB is, it's a grocery store, and they fucking are the best. I without a doubt, if HEB was everywhere in the United States, nobody else would fucking... Nobody would go to any different grocery stores. HEB is one of the best stores, and I don't know. I'm not going to talk about Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Why do you want Ted Cruz on the holding the wheel? Why do you guys like Ted Cruz that much? It's fucking weird what you people do. And then we got to talk about Trump. What Trump did, what the predictions that they did for Trump. There's a lot of them. They really predicted what Trump was all about. When the episode Bart to the Future came out in early 2000, it wasn't very well received. At the time, Entertainment Weekly actually called it the worst Simpsons episode ever. If only they knew just how bad things would be after 16 years. In the episode, Bart goes to I believe, a Native American casino, and he's shown his future if he doesn't change his ways. And in that vision, it is revealed that Lisa would be the U.S. president. And Chris, I don't know if you can play the clip. I don't know how bad I'm gonna get fucking screwed by the copyright system, but whatever. If you can't show the clip, do it now. She says, we have to really fix the deficit that was left for us after President Trump. Oh, man, that's crazy. And it actually wasn't as far-fetched as it seemed, because in 1999, I don't know if people knew this, but Trump kind of teased the fact that he would run as a president, and he said Oprah would be his running mate. So, a black woman, things have changed considerably. And also, just so you guys know, that clip of Trump coming down the escalator that did the rounds, like the viral thing that the Simpsons predicted that was made by a fan. Like, that wasn't actually in a Simpsons episode. It's important that you know that. But they did do the other Look, I know after 35 years of television, you're bound to accidentally predict a few things. Pulling predictions from large data sets is actually a concept explored by a pair of Harvard mathematicians in a paper called Methods for Studying Coincidences, which coincidentally was published the same year that the Simpsons debuted. There's so much going on. But keep in mind, there are so many accurate predictions that happen in the show that I could not fit them all in one video. Sometimes it seems like Conan O'Brien and the rest of the writer's room had access to a time machine back then. And like their Harvard education, instead of doing something useful with it, they decided to make a dumb fucking cartoon. Did I miss your favorite Simpsons prediction? Or your favorite Simpsons joke? I love The Simpsons, so if you just want to talk about it in the comments, I'll probably join in. New videos every Wednesday and Saturday.
That was a good video. But that's it for this stream. I'll see what's going on. I'll see if I'm streaming tomorrow. I'll let y'all know. Let me come to my full face. But that was a good stream. I felt like. But I'll let y'all know. See y'all.